I'm curious, since you guys are doing collegiate ministry,
Yeah,
people are putting off getting married more and more these days.
yeah, yeah,
A lot of the famous or younger podcasters online who are in their now mid 30s or late 30s, they'll say very openly, like, I'm not married and I don't intend to get married. When you drill into their personal life, which a lot of times they don't like, they've got lots and lots of relationships. They're just in and out of lots of relationships. And they're really promoting this idea that a high value man can just go from relationship to relationship. And then you've got women who, our kids who went away to a lot of different kind of college ministries like Navigators or YWAM or different groups. One of the things they came back and reported often is very few of the women are excited to about being moms. So there's just this delay. What are you seeing? And is that a problem? How do we, as in sort of the Christian community, when we're especially addressing college age students, do we need to talk directly about marriage and this trend that is growing about getting married later, having fewer or no children? Like, how do you think about those trends?
yeah. They're to me just reflective of the culture. To me, when you see church done well, a local church, and to me, any parachurch campus ministry, my hope is that they're not functioning solely as a church. Practically, my hope is that they're integrating within a local church, and their students are a part of local bodies. I always try to get every one of my students adopted by a family in the church. Right, the very first week, we have an adopt a student. And I want them to see the multi-generational components of the body of Christ. And to me, when you get if my students are only hanging out with a demographic of 4 year, uh, you know, freshman to 18 to 22 to senior, it's not healthy. And it's easy for them to just mimic what they're seeing and hearing around them. Yeah, I don't know if I want kids or whatever, but when they get around a godly couple from church who has 2 kids and 5 kids or whatever, this loving relationship where she goes, wow, that lady's husband, I don't know if I want to be married, but if I could be married to a guy like that, I would absolutely want that. Or you see, a guy that sees this just godly, strong woman who has a reverence for her husband. He's like, hey, everything I see around me right now, that's not pointing in that direction. I want a woman like that. It's training, it's mentoring, and it's giving them a picture of something that they don't have. So I think as they get around the beautiful picture, that idea of they train folks. I don't know who the people are that find fraud, but they don't study the counterfeits. They study the real thing, right? I think as you get them around, you can point out all the things wrong or you should get married or whatever. That's fine. But if you get them around the real thing and they see beautiful, godly pictures of men and women working in complementary relationships, something in them goes, yeah, I want that.
Mm. Yeah, it's really
Is what I think. Would you agree? Like you
yeah,
see
I
what
do.
would be some ways to,
I think that that's a great point. That if you don't want to get married, it's probably evidence that you just haven't seen a model that was compelling to you. You couldn't see yourself in that position.
yep.
Or if you saw
Yeah.
yourself in that position, you weren't
You're
excited
like,
about what
no
you
way.
saw.
Yes. Yeah. That was a
Like,
terrible
yeah,
picture. Yeah.
when you
Yeah. How
see
about for
something you
like,
like when a guy's like, "Wow, I'd love to be the starting quarterback. That looks amazing." Like, I've seen that. Like, but when they like, "Why would I want to be a
yeah.
dad?" Like you mentioned, The
Yeah.
Office. Yeah, like when
Yeah.
we see this position being denigrated. There's, by the way, like
Mhm.
when you were describing that, there's I don't know if you've heard it. There's a podcast called The Oral History of the Office, which is
No,
the guy who plays Kevin in The
uh-huh.
Office. He's kind of the curator of
Yeah.
conversations with the entire cast, and they were trying to figure out why it was so popular. And they were asking, like, why were people so comforted? People like literally
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The Office play in the background while they watch it over and over and over again. And it's like a 15 hours of podcast, but they finally, like, about 2/3 the way into it, they kind of come to this collective conclusion about why it was so popular. And their ultimate conclusion was that The Office was a family, and that
Mm.
what it
Mm.
represented was it was a symbolic family, and that it
Yep.
didn't trigger people's normal family revulsions because it wasn't trying to play out a family literally. It was a figurative family.
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
Jim
Yeah.
and Dwight are, sons, and Michael Scott's the dad, and the different, kind of like
Uh-huh.
symbols of motherhood or daughterhood. And to your point, yeah, when you see why something like that resonates so deeply, it's because, and I think this is the most difficult element. Yeah, we don't know what sonship really is. We don't know what fatherhood really
Mm,
is. We see these archetypes as really flawed and just unappealing aesthetically. Like we don't want to be a
yeah.
part of it. So yeah, I love what you're saying. Get 'em involved in the church. Make sure that the church that you're connected to has families that can demonstrate some compelling models for
Yeah.
what a thriving family looks like, what amazing marriage
Yeah.
looks like. And
Yeah.
there's so much failure. There's so much, and I think that, yeah, that's a great point. We have to connect young, because one of the things that's really difficult about all of our stories is that we tend to really only know the one model of family that we grew up in. Like that, we're so that is so powerful. It's like when you start having kids, you become your mom or your dad, because it's such a ingrained part of your
Yeah.
life. And so if that was a really tough experience and it didn't like demonstrate for you something that you find exciting, then the only way it does seem to overcome that is Christian families have to open their doors and let people come inside and see a different model, a different way of doing it, and say, no, I could, maybe I would struggle trying to replicate what my dad or mom did, but man, I think I could really become like that, and it would be a compelling and exciting life to live.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's, man, that's a strong tension. I think that's a great point.